It is just gone after 9:30 p.m. Central African Time. This is the Globe on SABC News, coming to you live from Johannesburg. I'm Simpio Ngwane. It's always good to have you with us.
Indeed, thank you for joining us, and a very good evening to you. I'm Lulu Gabu. Now on to our top story. The government of Uganda says it is willing to consider granting asylum to the post-Sudanese leader Omar al-Bashir.
Well, it says this is an appreciation for his role in the South Sudan peace deal. Uganda State Minister for Foreign Affairs Henry Okello Oryem said on Tuesday in Kampala that if al-Bashir applied for asylum in Uganda, then his government could consider the matter.
After initially saying Bashir and other ICC suspects would be tried locally and not extradited to the Hague court, the army said on Monday that the decision would be left to the next civilian government. Bashir has been on the ICC's wanted list for crimes against humanity, war crimes and genocide in Darfur since 2005.
However, President Yoweri Museveni in 2016 lambasted the ICC as a bunch of useless people. At the time of al-Bashir's overthrow, Uganda and Sudan had resolved past misunderstandings. Bashir came to power in an Islamist-backed coup. He belonged to the Islamic movement, Sudan's equivalent of the Muslim Brotherhood, and imposed Sharia law. All right, we're now joined live for more on this story by our correspondent Michael Baleke from Kampala in Uganda. Very good evening to you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us about the asylum offer. Do we know why it is being offered?
Hi there. Uganda says it is willing to consider asylum to the deposed leader, General Omar al-Bashir, in appreciation for his role in South Sudan and the South Sudan peace deal. Both President Museveni and Bashir are co-guarantors to this peace pact between President Salva Kiir and his opponents. And while, of course, addressing the Committee of Parliament on Foreign Affairs today, Okello Oryem, the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, said President Bashir also helped solve the 20-year LRA conflict in northern Uganda. And so Uganda is taking this as an appreciation to President Bashir and his family. However, the minister says the decision to give asylum to President Bashir lies with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni.
But Uganda must have considered the ICC arrest warrant for al-Bashir, didn't they?
Well, this is quite interesting because Uganda is actually a signatory to the Rome Statute that created the International Criminal Court. And Uganda is known to have handed wanted ICC suspects to the Hague court. For example, some LRA rebels commanders, including the runaway leader Joseph Kony, were handed over to the ICC by Uganda. The chief prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, has been a state guest to Kampala on several occasions. But President Museveni has previously attacked the ICC for being biased and threatened to cut ties with the court. And on two occasions in 2016, we saw the Ugandan leader inviting President Bashir for his swearing-in ceremony. And in 2017, President Museveni also invited him back in Kampala and he even invited him to his up-country home. So President Museveni considers President Bashir an ally and is not worried about the ICC decisions.
With the developments currently taking place in Sudan, have you heard from the ICC with regards to their position on pursuing Mr. Bashir?
Well, we haven't, the ICC has not yet commented and has not yet come out to give anything to, well, it has not come up with a statement to Uganda, but before the ICC, when President Museveni threatened to cut ties with the ICC told President Museveni that, you know, you cannot just cut ties with us, with the court. And of course, we definitely should be expecting some communication later this week from the ICC. But we have also seen rights groups in Uganda protesting previously when President Bashir was here, protesting against President Museveni and asking the government of Uganda to hand over Bashir to face justice.
Do we know at this point if ordinary Sudanese would actually agree to this deal? I mean, Uganda offering asylum to Mr. Bashir?
Well, There have been months of protests in Sudan since December 2018. The poor, the middle class were on the streets fighting for the collapse of the economy, in the economy. They wanted jobs, better pay for government. Workers wanted also better pay. They also fought against the bad rule for the last 30 years. So many protesters were killed in the scuffle. So if you ask me what many Sudanese think and what they think about President Bashir coming to Uganda, I think this is in bad faith. According to them, this would be in bad faith. And they would want to see President Bashir have a day in court to answer charges of violence, of murder, and even corruption.
And what then about Mr. Bashir's allies and backers? Would they get the same deal? I mean, would they get the same treatment from Uganda?
Well, the Ugandan Foreign Minister has mentioned Bashir and his family. And that is if they ask for asylum. We're not sure about the fate of the Sudan regime backers. We don't know whether his family also includes includes his right-hand generals. But we have heard of ongoing efforts to get some of President Bashir's backers asylum in Saudi Arabia. But the leaders of the Sudanese Military Council who arrived in Addis Ababa, that was yesterday, said they would not hand Bashir over to the ICC. They say the political outfit that the civilians will choose will make that decision. And I'm sure the decision will include what will happen to the political backers of President Bashir.
And how are ordinary Ugandans taking the news? I mean, are they ready to welcome Mr. Bashir?
The ordinary Ugandan is like the ordinary Sudanese national. They equally have had their share of problems, ranging from poverty, lack of jobs, access to basic health care, water and shelter. The education sector has collapsed and not giving solution to Uganda's problems. And like President Bashir, Uganda's president has been in office for the last 33 long years. And right now, there's a process that is going on to change the constitution to remove the age limit so that he can come back in the next term in 2021. So Ugandans are not surprised that President Museveni, will be offering refuge to his colleague and counterpart in the African system that has deprived many of their livelihoods. And some civil society organizations are threatening, of course, to strike if Bashir comes to Kampala. But given previously what we have seen, a local Ugandan will definitely is not really surprised at what might happen.
Michael, I know it's quite difficult to say at this point, but would you be in a position to paint us a picture of what life would be in Uganda for Mr. Bashir? I mean, do you see him being actively involved in politics while in exile?
Well, I don't think so. Given previously, Uganda has been so kind and to several past African leaders. Uganda has been offering refuge to many African leaders quietly, and some are still living in Kampala here quietly and living a quiet life. They have escorts. They're living in a luxurious life, I would say, in the upmarket homes within Kampala. So. Well, while President Bashir may not, because I would think President Museveni would not want to feel the heat when President Bashir is here, so probably he would require him to go silent and be quiet. Maybe internally, he would be pushing from here internally to his government, but I'm sure President Bashir, if he's to come to Kampala, I'm sure he will come quietly, and the government will require him to stay quiet, but he will be given all the privileges of an ex-president while in Kampala.
We've been asking this question over and over again as to where in the world is Mr. Bashir is at this point, and we've been getting responses to the fact that he's still under the custody of the Sudanese military. Would they be in a position to simply let him go?
That is a question that it's been had and it's been about President Bashir's freedom. Right, we are told, and we have heard sections of the public and within the military sources, that President Bashir is currently held in Khartoum and is under arrest. But other sections of the public say he's actually free and he's being protected. So We're not really sure where he is and how he's likely to leave the country. But as, of course, meetings in the AU happen, I think there will be a solution that will see President Bashir probably leave Sudan quietly or be handed over to authorities, depending on the pressure and where it is coming from.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Well, that was our correspondent, Michael Baleke, joining us live from Kampala in